of that planet. Now, a lot of times we will find another person or another race that has lost their planet, and we will capture their souls and anchor them on different anchoring mechanisms in the ships. And then what we do is we take the DNA from, and that's where the seeding races that work with us, the ones who down here who have been taking the ovum and the sperm from human abductees. Well, a lot of them they're called seeding races because what they will do is they will produce clones, and the clones of the various different races that have lost their planets and everything, and they will put them in the cylinders, and they will be fully grown clones. And then once we find a suitable planet and it has a planetary matrix that matches their biomatrix and soul matrix, we will animate those bodies with the souls. And then we will relocate those colonies to those other planets and lock them into that planetary rhythm, planetary biosphere, planetary matrix. And then we will see the stability and see how they adapt. And we will supervise them for like the period of adaptation. Each period of adaptation is dependent upon the race that we're working on. And once that's already been established and stabilized, we will frequently monitor them from a distance, but we will not interfere with them unless we need to help them or something. And the prime directive is another issue I got to address. But anyway, basically, we do a lot of that type of work where we will, people that have, races that have lost their planets will be relocated to a planet that's very similar to their own, or a lot of times we can restore their original planet to its pristine condition. So we do that type of work. And anyway, the Urquequians were letting me see this, that I had actually activated the planet using the igneous rock activation phase. Beautiful turquoise, iridescent blue colors and everything. I was really impressed with the colors. I can't reproduce them down here. There's no way. And then another time, apparently somebody else that I had met through a UFO meetup group here locally, she was a powerhouse woman, wrote several books on aviation and everything, worked with her husband and stuff. She had told me, she called me out of the blue one day, which is unusual. People don't usually call me, and they usually run away from me. But this one called me back and told me that she had this weird dream. And I said, probably it's not a dream, but continue. And then she told me how she was in this like big courtyard and back of a college, and they had all these air conditioning units, and she saw these black rectangular ships, and there was all these other people, and they were afraid. They didn't want to go up, and they were running and scattering, but a lot of them were taken up, and then she ran. She didn't want to be taken up, and she was scared. Next thing you know, she's up in the ship, and she's looking through a teller's type window to these other people that are on the other side of the teller window from her. And the beings were standing behind them, and she looked at this one person, and she asked this one person, "Well, where are you from?" And she says, "I'm from Australia." And then she said, "Well, what is your name?" She goes, "Kelly Ramsey or Ramsey Kelly or something like that." I think it was Kelly Ramsey. She was some kind of a psychologist, and I think she was doing research in alternate states of being or ulterior states of being or something like that. And anyway, then she said that she looked it up, and there really was such a person. And when I tried to look her up, I couldn't find her. It's like they immediately deleted that information off the internet as soon as me and her were talking about it. And then she said a man was sitting in front of her, and they were taking that same Q-tip device and rotating it back and forth in his ear. But instead of him just like enjoying it and sitting there and passive, no, he was screaming and yelling and writhing in pain, and he was scared, and tears were coming down his eyes and crying. And the aliens were doing this to him, and they didn't know why he was being tortured by them. And then she was afraid, and I tried to explain to her what that device was and that they had done the same thing to me. And then the guy left, and then one of the aliens was there, and then she asked the alien, "Where are you from, and what are you doing here?" And they said they're from Hydra, and they work with a colony of 60 million humans. And I thought, aha, so that's where they're from. And I told her, oh, thank you for telling me. I wondered where they were really from. I'm glad you told me this. And I told her that they're called the Aquaruins, and they do this and that. She never spoke to me again. I mean, it's like, for some reason, I don't know why. But why is everybody afraid of them? I think they're just very personable and open. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. So let's go round robin here. Theresa, do you have any questions, comments, feedback? Oh, I wanted to say something before I forget. You were talking about the relocation program for different species that may have reasons to vacate their original planet. Maybe they're running from something. Maybe their planet's no longer livable. But I have been working that project. I have I wake up with very strong memories of just having been working on the project. I go and sometimes, like the one planet, we found a bunch of ruins, and they were just absolutely gorgeous. And so, but they were bigger than the Earth humanoid size. So we said, well, let's go in there. You know, these things are much bigger. We can break the rooms down into smaller rooms and, you know, and house whole families, like a big apartment complex. And we could even insert additional floors. And so one of their buildings, which I don't know how many they may have housed, but they were 20 to 30 feet tall. You know, they could have housed X, and you know, one of their buildings we could fit, you know, thousands in there as opposed to hundreds of them. So, so I saw them. I made that suggestion telepathically. I'm not sure who I was talking to, and then they brought me back about a week later in real time here, and it was bustling with people, and most of them seemed to be, they were all Earthlings. They said these are Earthlings. There were a lot of brown people. There seemed to be a huge Asian influence. They were kind of wearing that kind of garb, and they had a lot of music playing and dancing, and they were celebrating, and they brought a lot of, you know, crafts people that could build and remodel, and then everything that we need to support people that could cook. And anyway, so they were celebrating because they had transplanted, I don't know, tens of thousands of people there. Their conditions where they were living before were not optimal, and so they were celebrating. So I went back, and then another time they were dancing in the middle of the street, and I'm following this. They came over and they were excited to see me, and they swept me up into the celebration. And then I felt like really rejuvenated, like I could dance for hours and not be tired at all. And so I'm dancing and following this parade, and next thing I know, there's a little cow, a rope to a cow, a little calf in my hands, and they go, everybody has their cow here. I go, okay, so there's a gift of a calf. And so anyway, it was very beautiful, and I came back, and I was just smiling ear to ear. And so I'm really happy to be a part of these relocation programs, so I'm aware of them as well. So with that, I'd like to pass the talking stick to Theresa or Richard, whoever wants to go next, to give Susan feedback or maybe additional questions or comments. Who wants to go next, Theresa or Richard? Richard, do you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Susan, what exactly do these Aquaruins look like? Are they humanoid like us, or are they distinguishable as other kind of beings, or exactly what?
They're taller on average, about 5'8" to 6 foot tall. They have, of course, they got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. And the head is not as big as the grays, not exaggerated. They're like a sky bluish color. They're really odd. Their eyes are really cool looking. They're like a really deep royal blue. They're solid, deep, royal blue eyes, and they're like a funny teardrop shape where the tip of the teardrop curves down, and the wider part of the teardrop is toward the corner of their nose. And they have a regular nose, and they got a regular mouth, and they got the long fingers with the knotty protuberances on their all their knuckles on their fingers, and their sternum itself, they got that circular area. Instead of the sternum being flat like ours, they have like a circular indentation on their sternum, like above where their breast would be, or in between their breast, and there's similar musculature like us. And they have, I don't know if they have a retracting penis or not, but they do have big balls.
Okay. That was a bit of an unexpected information by all means.
We're going to do a show. We had a brief conversation off the show. We're going to do alien sexuality, but not this show. But that's a preview of what's coming, so to speak. Ha, ha, ha. So go ahead,
sure.
Richard. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to explain. We're going to do a show on alien sexuality. Go ahead.
There's only one other vital question that just seems to be steaming in my mind, and that is, Susan, do you have the ability to recognize other races or other beings of other races that are in human form when you come in contact with them here amongst what appear to be normal Earthlings?
If I do, I don't know it because probably I haven't ran across anybody yet. That's how severe this isolation is between all of us.
Okay. Because I know you had mentioned previously, the lizard, when you were down in the basements, there were lizard people there, and there were some other beings there, and there were some tall white ones and so forth. But I'm presuming, or I guess it should be said, that actually you're physically encountering them while you yourself, I guess, are in an etheric form? Or are you actually physically present?
I'm physically present. Now, sometimes I'm in my present form, or sometimes I'll shift into my alternate form, which looks more like Yisseron. You might have seen a picture of Yisseron, what he looks like.
Not offhand, but I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised either, because I have kept up with some of the literature.
And I have shifted a few times, and my niece has seen me actually shift.
Oh, wow.
But I look more like Yisseron when I shift.
Mm-hmm.
But now, our Magdalon from the Ruvawan, also in Cygnus, near Cygnus X1, he has worked with me and helping me shift into alternate forms. And he can make my eyebrows thicker, thinner. He can make me look bald. He can make my hair look stringy. He can make spikes come out of my head. He can make my face distorted. And he's actually teaching me how to do that on my own. And this is our Magdalon.
So a form of shape-shifting, you could say, in a manner of speaking, although the shape-shifting may or may not be actually physical, but rather a projection energetically as to how you perceive outwardly by others.
Well, he would make me look at myself in the mirror and do the shifting.
Oh, okay. So in other words, it's like presenting to you different perceptions of what you can become by utilizing mental will, I guess.
Our Magdalon, he's got concentric rings around his eyes and concentric rings within his eyes, and I myself have some rings, has some lines in my eyes too, in the corner. Actual. And he has worked with me in my past life, and he was the Starfleet commander in my past life. That's what I was told, and I go, oh my God, what does that mean, war? And sure enough, later on I was told by several different people who've done readings on me and stuff that I'm definitely a warrior. And then, ironically enough, I have a symbol. What is that beeping noise?
I don't know. It's not here.
I'll put myself on mute.
No, I got sidetracked. What was